Hey everybody, what's going on? It's James here with Crypto Common Sense, and I have your Bitcoin/cryptocurrency update for Tuesday, August the 4th. Before I jump into the content for this video, please do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up button, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and if you haven't already, make sure to check the description for a link where you can join the Patron. That helps to support the channel, helps to keep me doing these videos, and gives you access to more frequent updates. Plus it also, I don't ever mention it, but it gives you the ability to ask me to do specific chart analysis. So for example, if there's an altcoin or something that you'd like me to take a look at, I'd be happy to do that. So what I want to do, I'm going to talk about the charts. This is actually, I think, the third video in like 3 or 4 days. We're kind of on a roll here, but I also want to talk about something a little different. So what you're seeing on the screen is actually a chart of my weight over the last 7 or so years. And you might be wondering, why in the hell is this guy talking about his weight? Well, guys, you know, when you're in this market, especially with cryptocurrency, there are a lot of people who try to tell you that technical analysis does not work and that technical analysis is all made up, you know, hocus pocus. And there's other people that say, well, it probably works, but it probably only works because people are watching those patterns. They're not naturally occurring patterns and things like that. But the reality is you can actually take technical analysis and you can apply it to almost anything that can be charted that is based on human psychology, right? Now, what I mean by that is, for example, you're not going to be able to TA like erosion, right? Because that has nothing to do with human psychology, but weight is a perfect example of this. So this is like I said, it's a weight chart for me. This is, you know, March of 2020, 19, 2018, 2017, 16, 15, and 14. Long story short, weight's always been an issue for my family. My dad died in his 40s. My mom died in her 40s. They were both fairly big people. And so for me personally, it's always been something that I've tried to keep under control. Usually do a pretty good job with it up until really the last 6 or 7 years. And that's, I'm not sure why exactly. I never had a weight problem when I had a job. I think it really just comes down to, you know, I got self-employed, and then after a couple of years of self-employment, my discipline kind of went out the window, and so I started to get fat. So what I want to do though is I want to break down this chart real quick, and then we'll go into the crypto charts. But I want to talk about TA real quick. If you have any technical analysis experience, you're already looking at this chart. I guarantee, and you're already seeing things, right? And the reason that I'm using this is because, guys, I didn't even know what technical analysis was until the middle of 2017, which would have been, this is 2020, this is 2019, 2018, 2017, would have been somewhere around this area, right? This is about where I first figured out what TA was when I started trading, was somewhere in this area. Yet look at this. This is as perfect a line of resistance as you could ever hope for in a chart. And there it is right there. And that happened to be right around 225, 226. Right? Why was there resistance there? Psychologically, right? It's a psychological level. Oh my God, I don't want to weigh more than 225, right? Same thing, right? You start looking at it dropping. Where's support at? Right above 200, right? Because when I get down to 200, mentally it's like, okay, I'm almost there. I'm almost where I need to be. I actually, you know, I can pull off 185 and look pretty good at 185. That's about my natural weight is 185. Like back here when I got down to 185, I'd actually hired a personal trainer. I've been going to the gym every day for a year, literally every single day for a year, and I was walking around about 185 in pretty good shape. So, you know, it's like you get close and then you get relaxed and you start, you know, cheating a little bit, and then it goes out the window. But when you look at this thing, you know, somebody could look at this, not know me, not know my situation, and they could predict where things were going to happen at. So this big drop here happened again because it hit a psychological level. Look at this, I busted 250. I got on the scale one day in I guess that was late 2018, maybe somewhere around there, and freaked out because I hadn't weighed in a while, which is why this is so smooth right here. I'd probably been 6 months, and I thought, I'm probably up 235, 240, you know, somewhere in there. And no, it's 250. It shocked the hell out of me. So I got super strict, started eating healthy, started intermittent fasting, and dropped just over 40 pounds in like 3 months, right? It just fell off. But then I cheated a couple of times, and so I started to kind of climb back up, broke my neck, and everything went to shit, right? Once I broke my neck, I was real anxious, and I started eating it. But the funny thing is, if you look at this, what is this at the end of this, right? And again, just it happened to happen this way, right? It wasn't planned or anything. Look at this. You've got a left shoulder, a head, and it's hard to see right here, but you have a right shoulder hiding underneath that weight label, right? And what does the head and shoulder point to? It points to, you know, a bearish signal where you're going to get the height of the move. And so that would put me back down where? Right around 200 pounds all over again, which is what? It's kind of like that psychological level of support. So it's hilarious to me. And I will probably bust that this time and continue going down, because I'm actually doing 40-hour fasting now. That's what I've been doing the last 10 or 15 days to get to where I'm at. But it's hilarious to me because you could look at this and you could predict where I'm going to get fat again, and you could predict where I'm going to get back in shape using technical analysis. So I thought this was a really neat example that might open some people's eyes to why TA works. It's all about human psychology. It's all about human emotion. And don't let people try to convince you that it doesn't work or that it's some kind of made up nonsense. It's absolutely not. Anytime you can measure somebody's like emotional level, you can make some predictions. And it's not 100%. Nothing ever is. But again, you can see these clear channels, right? That's a very parallel channel. You can see this clear level of resistance. You can see that 200 is this psychological level. Had this huge drop here, and then what do you get after a huge drop? You get the dead cat bounce before further downside. Here's the head and shoulders, which is pointing to further downside. And most of this was before I even knew what trading was or even knew what technical analysis was. So pretty cool stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at Bitcoin. I'm going to try to focus mainly on Bitcoin today since this is the third video I've done this week. And essentially, here's what I'm seeing, guys. If I'm looking at this thing and I'm looking at the CME chart first, what I see on RSI is a very clear double top. You can see here that RSI back on July 29th got to 81.12, and you can see here on August 3rd it got to 81.33. July 31st it got to 81.26. So this is a double top in my mind, and this will be my neckline right here around 79. So this is a little tricky because double tops typically like to do this, and then if they're legit, they like to come up and retest that before further downside. And of course, if that's going to move back up, it's probably going to punch price through this pocket. So it's funny because the double top is actually a bearish sign, but you'll often get that last oomph before the downside, which is what really throws people off. And I'm not going to long it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not looking for longs or anything. I actually think it's probably going to come down without even retesting the neckline. But technically speaking, you'd want to see it retest the neckline, something like that. The reason that I'm thinking it's going to drop right now, and like anything else, obviously I could be wrong, but the reason I'm thinking that it's getting ready to drop right now really has more to do with where the price is at and the price action on the smaller time frame. So, price busted up outside of this parallel channel here, but it came right back down inside of it, and then this green candle failed to come back up and put in a new high. It basically acted like resistance here. And if this is indeed a UTAB, which stands for up thrust after distribution, right? It's the one that really catches people, with their pants down, so to speak. If that's what this is, typically what that does, it'll break outside the range and then come right back down inside of it. So this parallel channel is not exactly the range I'd want to see it come back down into. I really want to see it come back down under 10.5, but it might be trying to do that, okay? And again, the reason 10.5 is because that was the high from back in February, okay? If I zoom in even more and I take a look at a 4-hour chart, what I actually see forming, I'm going to get rid of this, it's no longer in play. What I actually see forming here is what looks to be a potential head and shoulders pattern. Are you seeing it? Your left shoulder, your head, and your right shoulder. Okay, and the reason that I'm seeing that is because you have high buying volume on the left shoulder, you have weak buying volume in the center, and you have declining volume going on. That's what you're looking for with the head and shoulders, is that volume confirmation, and we definitely have that on this chart. So I see this head and shoulders pattern, and I see that double top on the CME. Now, that being said, if this is indeed a head and shoulders, depending on how you draw it, depending on how you measure it, if I'm going from close to what I would consider the neckline, probably going to be down around here somewhere. Okay, so it needs to break that neckline before it can be a confirmed head and shoulders, which is down around 10.9. That's a move of just under $1,100. So what that means is I can copy and paste that, and if I pull this down and try to line it up there, just real quickly eyeballing it, and close enough, right? Right about like that, okay? That's going to give me a target down around where? Around 9,900-ish, okay? Which again would take me back down underneath that very important 10.5 level, and it would actually be coming down, depending on when it hits it, it could end up retesting this 200 moving average on a 4-hour chart, not a daily chart, but a 4-hour chart. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now as I'm watching to see if we get that pullback. And remember, if this is a bull trend and bull market and all that stuff, which we don't know if it is yet, it's entirely possible to get $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 pullback and still be bullish, right? So I'm not like out here saying, okay, this is the the macro bear sign that I've been waiting for. No, this is just a smaller time frame type of move, right? This in no way means that we're suddenly going to be giving back all of the gains that the market handed out the last couple of months. Okay, and again, no guarantee it even goes down. First things first, we got to take it level by level. First, it needs to break its neckline down around 10.9, and then we can say, okay, this is probably a head and shoulders, and we can look for potential short positions. And more conservative traders, the way they trade is they'll often, if they see a head and shoulders, they don't try to trade the breakout, because especially with cryptocurrency, Bitcoin loves to fake people out. It loves to throw a tail down right through that level and then actually rocket right back up. So what a lot of more conservative traders will do is they'll wait for it to break the neckline, which will be somewhere around here. They'll wait for it to pump back up, and then they'll enter a short position on that retest and try to ride it down, right? And then, of course, they could have a stop loss. A few different places, but the most obvious place would be back over here somewhere, right? So if they're entering down here around 10.9, stop loss might be up around like 11.5. Right, and then using proper money management, all that, you can figure your position sizes and all that kind of stuff, right? But again, one thing at a time. It has broke underneath its 50 moving average. This is a 4-hour chart, though, not near as important as a daily chart, so keep that in mind. All right, I'm going to take those moving averages off for just a minute. And the other thing I would point out is, again, really no buyers up here, right? What you're not seeing is you're not seeing any high demand. These are 4-hour candles, and the volume is crazy low, right? This was about a 4,000 volume candle over the course of 4 hours. To put that in perspective, if we go right here, this was a 300 volume candle. That's not the one I was looking for. That one's not the one I'm looking for. This is probably it back here. Yeah. So these are 5-minute candles back here. These are selling volume candles. And this was 1.9 thousand, and this was 3.1 thousand 5-minute candles. So you had more volume in these 2 5-minute candles than you have in these 4-hour candles that we're seeing now. Buyers are just not really showing much interest in this level. Okay. And I haven't actually looked at charts today. I've been working on some programming stuff. Every few years I fancy myself a computer programmer, and I brush up on some coding stuff. I don't know why, because I've never actually coded anything for the market. I always hire people to do it, but that's what I've been doing today, is working on some programming stuff. I don't see any clean lines there. Could be a potential support down here on the hourly. Look at that. That'd be the kind of thing that would throw people, right? Everybody gets real nervous, like, oh, it's going to drop, and then it just bounces right off of it. Bitcoin loves to pull that show, right? So, and again, I'm not saying I think it's going to happen. I'm just saying that's the kind of thing that, it's the reason that I don't rush into trades. It's the reason that I wait for confirmations and things like that. On the 4-hour chart, again, this was pretty easy back here. This was actually a bearish looking retest right back here. You had a fairly consistent trend line, boom, 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 and then boom for the bearish retest. So I could have seen somebody going shorts on the close of this green candle, which would have been at, oh wow, 12,000 exact. That would have been an appropriate level to think about shorting it. But right now I don't see anything that says, hey, jump into a short, right? Nothing like that at all. So I've got to wait for confirmation if I'm going to trade it. And I don't even know if I am going to trade it. I haven't even turned my trading computer on in the last week. So this computer that I shoot videos on is actually my main computer that I do all my other stuff on, but I don't trade on it just because, right? I try to keep a separate computer for trading just in case hackers, viruses, all that kind of shit. All right. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing there. On the daily, this is not a double top. The left shoulder is lower than the right shoulder, so I would not consider this a double top. That double top only exists on the CME daily. Okay, so keep that in mind. Is there anything else that I wanted to talk about? Probably not. I'd like to keep this one fairly short since I've been doing a bunch of videos this week. One other thing, I'll talk about this and then I'll wrap up. One of the things that people have asked me about is am I still bearish, or am I bullish? For the people that don't watch the videos, especially, I get that question sometimes. And I am still macro bearish, guys. And again, I just want to point out for the umpteenth time that it has a lot less to do with the charts and a lot more to do with the fundamentals. It's got to do with the horrific economic conditions. It's got to do with, basically all markets are in this really crazy overbought territory. Gold just broke $2,000 an ounce. Silver is very overbought. It, going back, it's at its like 7-year high. Lots and lots of different stocks are at all-time highs. The NASDAQ, for example, is pumped over 60% since March. I mean, it's just this pure euphoria stage, right? Which is typically what you see near tops in markets. So that's one of the reasons I'm bearish. And one of the other reasons that I haven't talked about quite as much as this, and I'm not going to talk about this a lot, I'm just going to give you the 30-second view. It's as simple as this. Tether has more than 5x its market cap in less than 2 years, and it tends to print Tether at very suspicious times. You have massive pumps in Tether. For example, in March, they increased their market cap by almost like 30 or 40%. Did it again in May. Did it again a couple of weeks ago, right? So Tether went from having a market cap of around 1.5 billion to suddenly now it has a market cap of about around 10 billion. And back in the day, Tether was supposedly, backed by US dollars 1-to-1. Then it was like, no, it's actually 0.7-to-1. And then their auditor quit. So I am very suspicious of this, and I tend to believe that what's happening is they're printing Tether, using that fake money to buy Bitcoin, and then turn around and selling that Bitcoin for real dollars. And it's actually just one great big scam or one great big Ponzi. And that's one of the reasons that I don't have a ton of crypto. I just have, a small percentage of my net worth in cryptocurrency that I hodl, right? I have a hodl portfolio outside of my trade fund. But overall, this is one of the reasons I don't talk about it a lot, but it is one of the big reasons that I'm very skeptical. If you look at this on a monthly chart, it looks absolutely ridiculous, right? So, that's why I'm bearish. It's really not the charts themselves. The charts on a bigger picture, like a monthly level, if you look at a monthly Bitcoin chart, or if you look at a weekly Bitcoin chart, they actually look really good for the bulls. They really do at the current time. So just keep that in mind. My bearishness is much more fundamental based than it is technical based. And I thought I had a 3-day chart pulled up. I'll just show you this real quickly. Just open it back up because apparently I closed it. Well, my internet's... I say my internet's slow. I've got 100 megabit internet, but sometimes it feels like a dial-up. I don't know. I think I'm just spoiled. Let's see. 3-day. One thing I would keep an eye on this is this did put in a spinning top on the close, which was actually yesterday for me. This red candle up here, oftentimes you'll get a spinning top like this at the top of a move, just like you have one right back here in February. See it right there? It was green versus red, but it was still like a spinning top type of candle. That's often marks the top or bottom of a move, right, if it's moving down. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to see this thing pull back and retest some of these previous levels. And again, that doesn't mean it's going way down here necessarily. Just play it level by level is what I'm going to do. but you know, it's worth pointing out. Also, it's worth pointing out that that 10.5 level, it's really, really critical that the bears take that back if they want bearishness, right? That was a level that got pinged back in October. It had a high of 10.540. That was a level that got pinged in February. It had a high of 10.522, right? And it was even semi-resistance back here in like August of last year. So the fact that it did find support there is a very bullish argument, and bears really need to take that back, and the sooner the better. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I'm going to keep the videos short. Like I said, please remember that I am just some guy sitting in a spare bedroom. Nothing in the video is financial advice. Nothing in the video is trade advice. You should always do your own due diligence and seek out professional investment advice from a licensed financial advisor before making any type of investment in cryptocurrency, the stock market, or precious metals. This is James with Crypto Common Sense reminding you to please trade safe.